Welcome to Unapologetically Badass, the podcast for women over 40 who are done dimming their light. I'm your host, Renee Carbone-Fleming, coach, queen, and master of the midlife glow up. Solo chats, epic guests, no filter. Let's freaking go. Hello. Welcome everyone again to a fabulous episode of Unapologetically Badass. I am so thrilled because today's conversation is for every woman who has crushed it professionally, but secretly wondered why relationships feel so much harder. My guest today is Dr. Robin Buckley, a clinical psychologist, executive coach, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Marriage Inc., the Boardroom Blueprint for a Lasting Love. Robin holds a PhD in clinical psychology with a specialization in cognitive behavioral methodology, and her work has been featured by Entrepreneur, Nike, Authority Magazine, Chief, and on the TED stage. She also is the author of 3 books, and her latest hit bestseller status in 2025, which is awesome. But what makes Robin's work so compelling is this: she doesn't sell fairy tales. She openly challenges the Disney, Hallmark, and rom-com fantasies we were raised on, and instead teaches that love isn't luck, it's leadership. So without giving out too much more, this is a conversation about being the CEO of your relationship, redefining success in midlife, and finally building love with intention instead of hope. Robin, welcome to Unapologetically Badass.
Thanks, Renee. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so thrilled to have you. So tell us, okay, I gave him kind of the snapshot, but what does this mean?
Which part? The business part to relate?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the idea is that we, as leaders, as executives, we know all the things that work for success in business. And we know the strategies. We apply them consistently to achieve the same results. And then we walk out of the office and we go home and we're winging it in our relationships. We don't have a framework because we were never taught a framework. We were taught that love just happens and it's hard work and you have to, see what it ends up being. And I reject that notion so strongly because we would never take that approach in business. We would never take that approach in our careers. We would have a strategy, we would have a plan, we would have protocols. And we can do the same thing in our relationships without detracting from the love and emotion and sexual attraction.
I love that. How did that thought come so clear, recognizing that there's a gap?
Yeah, it really came from my clients. I worked with predominantly female executives, emerging leaders, entrepreneurs. And these were badass women who would go into work and know how to manage conflict and organize their teams and achieve goals and do all the things that made their businesses flourish. And then, of course, as we worked, they would bring up their relationships. And I'd be like, well, wait a minute, you just had conflict at work. What could you do at home the same way? And they're like, oh, no, Robin, that's different. That's my relationship. And I'm like, yeah. The relationships at work, relationship at home. So I slowly started using their terminology to get past that block of it's different at home, it's different with love. So we started talking about pain points instead of problems. We started talking about mission statements in their relationship. We talked about KPIs. I started pulling everything that I heard them talking about and just framing it within their relationships. And so then over time, they're like, Robin, you need to write a book. I'm like, okay, I'll write a book. And I put all of it into my book to try and help people really see that it doesn't make your relationships robotic or cold or too regimented. It actually allows all the good stuff, love, emotion, sexual attraction, to flourish because you have a structure built around them.
And what is the name of your book?
It's Marriage Incorporated, the Boardroom Blueprint to a Lasting Love.
Fantastic. Can you give us some of the highlights? What are some of the things that women can implement in their relationship at home like they would at home?
So one of the first things, which is, I always say, there's no real new concepts out there. It's just applying them and generalizing them in different ways to different environments. So the idea of assigning chores. So you go into your relationship and a lot of times we just assume that our partner's going to read our mind or know what to do. And then it creates frustration when it doesn't happen. Instead of just sitting down like you would at work and saying, okay, we've got this organization, we've got this team, we got this project. Who's going to take this? Who's going to do what? Where are your strengths? Where are your preferences? And you have a conversation. You don't go in like a dictator saying everybody's going to do this thing. You try and distribute it according to ideally skills and strengths, and then preferences, and then negotiation. And couples can do the same thing. So, and usually that's where I start them, Renee, when there's communication issues, because assigning chores is safe. There typically isn't a lot of emotion behind the chores. It's when the chores aren't done that the emotion comes up, because people feel unheard or disparity in work. And when you sit down with your partner and you say, okay, I in my house, I am big on nutrition and health, and I love trying new recipes. So I am absolutely the head chef and nutritionist in our house. And my husband certainly helps me. Often I call him my sous chef, but that's my role. He is great with money and numbers. I can do it. I'd rather not do it. So he's our CFO. What that means is he doesn't get final say on things. It just means he has the oversight. And then he presents it to me in our monthly meetings to say, what decisions do we have to make? What are your thoughts about this? So it's not that someone has sole responsibility. They just have the oversight. And then the other person jumps in to support, help, offer ideas. That's an important and safe place to start, is looking at who does what best, who prefers to do some things. And then if it, like a couple I worked with a couple months ago, neither one wanted to change the cat litter box. So negotiated, and each one took 2 weeks of the month. So that, okay, neither wants to do it, but it has to get done. So that's a real easy place to start. But one of the most important strategies, I think, is a four-step check-in or meeting schedule. And again, Renee, you know this from working with your clients. People do this at work all the time. We have daily check-ins, weekly, monthly, and quarterly check-ins, and they're called different things. So daily at work usually means Slack, that people are connecting and checking in and just having casual conversations or important conversations. That's important in a relationship. And each one of these has a specific purpose. And we can talk about those if you want to. We can talk about other things. It's your show, so I'll do whatever you want. But those 4 check-ins are important.
And let's dive in, because I love how you're bringing this to, when you said that monthly meeting, how important it is. We do that with our teams. I never really thought about that. But we don't get together and hold our monthly meeting with our significant other to reassess what's working, what may not be working, how are you feeling about your chores and responsibilities, and dive in. I love this.
All right. So daily check-ins, like you would use Slack at work, it's 5 to 10 minutes. I call it the no other zone. That means no kids, no phones, no distractions. It is you and your partner connecting, just like we do on Slack, so that when we work long distance or online, we have those connections. It's 5 to 10 minutes where each partner comes in with one question that is more than how was your day? Because that's a fine, how was your day? Good. That's not connection. So my husband and I do ours in the middle of the day with a cup of espresso each. And today he asked me we had unlimited resources and you can live in 2 places, where would it be? He's never asked me that. We've had random conversations. And when I answered, he actually said, oh, I didn't know that about you. We've been together 14 years married, 20 years before that in a friendship. Didn't know something about me. And it was answered through one simple question. And then I cheated and used his question because I wanted to know what his answer was going to be. But we actually had 10 minutes today and I learned something. And he connected with me. I connected with him. Again, we know the importance at work. Why not do that in our relationships? The next level is the weekly check-ins. These are your logistical meetings. This is where you sit down for 20 minutes, maybe on a Sunday, and you say, okay, here's what the week looks like. My schedule is busy on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm not going to have time to make dinner. Can you step in to do dinner? Sure. Okay. And then the dog has to get to the vet. Which one of us is going to take care of that? You have the conversation about the stuff that often gets in the way of connection, because couples are trying to have this connection as they're cooking dinner or finishing up a work meeting or getting the kids out the door. And that gets irritating and frustrating when someone is interrupting you when you're trying to do something else. So barring any last minute, sudden, unexpected emergencies, the week is covered. And again, we have our weekly check-ins with our teams to say, where are we with everything? Everybody's got their tasks for the week. Good to go. Monthly check-ins, like you referenced, these are impressive when my couples do these. They are probably around an hour, because I usually say no meetings are good after an hour.
Yeah.
And you work off an agenda that the two of you have created, sometimes on Google Notes, sometimes the notes in your phone. So there's no blind sides. You know what topics are going to be discussed. You know what to come prepared to present. And you're discussing every area that affects your relationship. And you're doing a SWOT analysis. And if your listeners aren't familiar with SWOT, it's from business. It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats about every area on your agenda. So finances, dependents, kids, pets, or elderly relatives that you're taking care of, sex and intimacy, communication, physical health, whatever you deem as an essential part of keeping your relationship functional and happy. That's what you do your analysis of. And it's not to pick it apart or place blame. It's a conversation about, what are we doing well? What were the challenges we had this month? What are our opportunities for growth in this area? And what are the threats that we foresee that we can maybe have a plan around? So it becomes, again, very proactive. And again, at work, you do it every month with your teams to see where we at with all the facets of the things we're working on. And then the quarterly one is just like a quarterly retreat. Ideally, it's you and your partner getting out of the house, whether it's for a whole weekend or 5 hours of a day, to not only connect, maybe have some fun, but also to set your next quarter's goals. What are the things we want to achieve next quarter? How are we going to measure and evaluate them and break them into KPIs so we know we're making progress? And that's what keeps a relationship so functioning at a peak performance level, because nothing is overlooked. Nothing is taken for granted. Right. And it enhances communication and connection because everything has its time for analysis and conversation.
That is such a great way of both partners, both people feeling they're empowered in the relationship, and that they do have a voice, and they're on equal level. I think that's brilliant. I never thought about treating the relationship like a business. Yeah, we're bold and badass in business, and we know exactly what the freak we're doing. But at home, it's like, oh, I just want to get better. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, a lot of times I will get critique from new clients, like, it feels cumbersome, Robin, it feels like a lot. And I said, I get why it feels like a lot, because it's new. Yeah. It's a novel way of looking at it. Right. But it provides a path, a clear path, and an SOP, a standard operating procedure for all areas of your life, so that all of a sudden, instead of talking about last minute things and then getting irritated with your partner, you've already done that in your weekly meeting or your monthly meeting. And now your evening is, what do we want to do together? How do we want to connect? And maybe some of that connection is around, we had some conversation around the 5 areas of intimacy and which area we want to grow. Maybe we could do some things to grow that area of intimacy, because intimacy isn't just about sex. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love this. But okay, so say you're working with a couple that have been together for a long time. And like you had just, mentioned, oftentimes it is uncomfortable in the beginning, just like anything that we try that's new. But how do you, if one partner is like, yes, this is something that I really think is great, and the other partner is like, that sounds like a little bit of foo-foo. How do you help them navigate that?
Yeah, that happens a lot. And often it comes with couples who have tried couples therapy, and one or both are worried that that's what we're going to be doing. And couples therapy is important for some couples. When couples are experiencing a rut or some kind of issue, they automatically think of couples therapy. And in my world, having done that in the past, therapy is important for diagnosable issues, first of all, psychological issues, or specific scenarios like addiction, abuse, loss, adultery. Therapy is important to start with. But for most couples who are just in a rut or not experiencing the level of satisfaction they want, coaching works really well. And I remind them, coaching is not about an emotional deep dive into the past. It isn't. That's not, in fact, I very rarely talk about the distant past. We might have examples from last week or the month before just to refine where their pain points are, but we're not going to dig deep. And second, it's not going to be about trying to correct the past, because in the coaching world, in my world, you can't fix the past. There's nothing you can do to change it. But what we can do is affect the present and then create the future we want. And that's what our focus is going to be. So it's not about blame. It is about developing strategy as a team. and each member bringing their strengths into the team, the partnership, to really make the relationship work. So when I start to phrase it in that way, a lot of times the defensiveness comes down, the expectation that it's going to be like therapy comes down. And my ultimate question is, do you want to keep doing things the way you've been doing it, achieving the same results, or are you here because you want something better for you and your partner? And when I phrase it that way, it's hard to say, no, I want to keep doing it the old way because it's not working. You realize it's time to try something different.
Wow. So, and how long have you been doing this? How long have you been sharing this concept?
Yeah, the concept has been around, I'd say 10, 12 years when it first started percolating in my head.
Yeah.
And then it took me years to write the book and finally finish it and then put it out there. But it's fun, Renee. It's just fun to watch couples resist the idea because it's so different, and then start to embrace it. And I love when I start to hear couples using the terminology, because then I know it's really cemented. It's like, oh, now they get it. Now it's part of their vernacular, and it allows them to tap into their prefrontal cortex, because my background's also neuroscience. So their logical thinking, emotional regulating part of their brain instead of their amygdala. So they're not reacting with fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And they're not reacting, they're proactively directing their relationship because it's coming from the rational part of their brain.
I mean, that is just brilliant. And it really is. And I'm so grateful that you came on here to share this, because I know that this is going to light a lot of women, especially, you know, like I said, my audience is women over 40, women over 50.
Yeah.
And oftentimes if they're in a relationship for a long period of time, you know, they might be going like, all right, yep, this is him, or whatever, you know, not me, Tony, this isn't me. Just let's put that out there. We're good. But, you know, for a lot of women, of course, and I joke, but every relationship has that, you know, has experience where you go like, okay, we do need to have these conversations. Maybe they have been thought about in a structured with SOP, with, you know, the business structure of it. But I think this is brilliant. And you share this on the TEDx stage?
No, my TED Talk. So it started on the TEDx stage, and then TED actually pulled it onto their main stage. No, that was a very different topic. So my whole life, I was raised by a very strong, very proactive mom who believed in women owning their bodies, their lives, their voices. I raised 2 daughters. So helping women, especially younger generations of women, has always been paramount. I wrote a book. One of my books is about that. And so my TED Talk is about teaching or allowing young women to own their bodies, which allows them to really have advocacy over all areas of their life. So the title is very controversial because my wonderful TEDx coaches said, we want this to be clickbait. And I'm like, because I had a very tame title. So the title is Why I Gave My Teenage Daughter a Vibrator.
Yep. Okay. But that's going to make somebody go, huh? What?
Absolutely.
It's a great title. Marketing.
Yes, when you get past the initial reaction of what did you just say, and you listen to it. And I am really proud of the talk. And my daughters are in the talk. They gave permission to be in the talk. They're now in their, when it came out, they were 16 and 18, I think, or 17 and 19. And now they're in their 20s. And I love that they are still fired up about it. And they talk about their sexual wellness like they would about their physical wellness or their mental health. And I love that because I have never understood, again, coming from a mom who was an OBGYN nurse, I've never understood why you separate out that area of your life when it's all interconnected into making you a whole well person. So
right. And yet those are conversations that, you know, our generation, our parents, about, they didn't talk to us about.
Not typically.
No.
And even when we think about women, you know, at this stage in life, 40s and older. And again, my mom was very vocal and very proactive. I never once heard from her what it was like to go through perimenopause and menopause. Never. And she didn't hide much. I mean, she talked about everything, but she never talked about it. And unfortunately, she died 3 years ago. So I never had someone to ask the questions to. So when I started going through perimenopause about 3 or 4 years ago, I was blindsided. I was like, what is going on? And, you know, you don't even think to read about it because it's just not even a conversation. And
Right.
thankfully now there is so much conversation around it. And my poor daughters are inundated with me like, you need to read this. You just need to be prepared. I know it's years away, but it's good to know ahead of time. So it's wonderful. But yeah, just the conversation when I meet with clients, and it cracks me up, Renee, because it'll come up, eventually I'll ask them, well, and how's your sex life? And I have had clients who have been married a long time, like, oh, are we going to talk about that? I'm like, are we not going to talk about that? Like, that's part. And if you both choose that it's not what you want, okay. Like, I've had couples who are just absolutely asexual or no longer want that, both of them. But that's few and far between. Right. Usually it's, we haven't figured it out, or it's just fallen off the radar, or menopause, or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, especially menopause, you're right. I mean, there's so much. I'm 56. I am like post, I am, but I didn't, and I'm now starting to educate myself about HRT and going like, maybe there's something that I need to change or do or add because I have these other feelings or symptoms that nobody talked to me. Nobody warned me that any of this stuff was going to happen.
Right. Right. It's so, and even using, like, when I talk with couples in the business analogy, I will bring up, depending on the age of my clients, and I'll bring up things like perimenopause or menopause if it's appropriate. And when the husbands are like, oh, I'll do what I can. I'm like, oh, no. You don't step back from this conversation. I said, again, at work, if you had someone who was struggling on your team, wouldn't you pull them inside and say, help me understand? Right. How can we support you? You'd have the conversation to proactively step in, because you don't want their struggles to affect the team, their organization, the product.
Yeah.
Why would you do that in your relationship? Why wouldn't you step and say, look, I have no clue what you're going through. Help me understand. What can I watch? What can I read? Yeah. Tell me what you need in the moment so that it doesn't negatively affect the relationship. It is no different than at work. But we treat our relationships so different.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
And like you said, initially, we have these expectations that we think that they know. Oh yeah, they just know. We just know how that we just love each other and it's all going to work out and it's going to be roses and unicorns.
Right.
Yeah.
And that drives me crazy too, because there's two phrases I don't like. They should just know what I want. Yeah. And marriage is hard work. I hate both of those. I reject both of those. Yeah, first of all, nobody's a mind reader. I don't care how long you've been with a person. They can't read your mind. And if you don't say what you want, it is on you. Yeah. Now, if you say it and they don't listen, you get to say it again. If they still don't listen or still don't at least participate in a conversation, that's a bigger sign about your relationship. Mm-hmm. But it is ridiculous to think that they should just know because they've lived with you. And you hope that people evolve over time. So your wants or preferences are going to change. So now you want to make sure that they keep up with you, and vice versa, of course. Yeah. And then the whole marriage is hard work. I'm like, you want to undermine your relationship? Tell yourself it's hard work. Right. Now, you want to say that I always say there's 5 parts to a successful relationship. It's diligence, dedication, nurturement, attention, and strategy. Those are the 5 things. None of those have to be hard. Right. They just each have their place to make the relationship smooth and as easy as possible and successful.
Yeah. And it's considered hard work if one person is doing the heavy lifting. But if you're having these check-ins and treat it like a business, you're both on the same playing field and it becomes a prosperous, wonderful, fun, adventure life experience that you get to do with somebody else. I think a lot of it is mindset, right? I mean, it's mindset, how we look at what a relationship should be. So a marriage relationship.
You tell your brain it's hard work and your brain says, oh, okay, you've told me exactly what it's supposed to be. I'm going to show you all the ways this is hard.
Right.
Instead of, wow, my relationship is a lot about dedication. How is he dedicating himself to me in a heterosexual relationship? Yeah. How am I dedicating myself to him or to this relationship? That is different than hard work.
Yeah, because if it's hard, nobody wants to do it.
Exactly. Why would you do anything that's going to be hard? Right from the beginning it's hard. I'm like, so you tell yourself it's hard work. Cool. Why would you bother getting into a committed relationship? I would.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. No, everyone's going to go like, aha, aha, aha. I love this. So what is anything else that you want to share about your framework, your book?
Oh, I want people to walk away knowing that you can apply strategy to your relationship to get the same benefits that you do whenever you apply strategy or plan, whether it's a road trip or whether it's your career, or your retirement, or your finances.
Yeah.
And it is in your power to create the relationship you want with a partner who also wants that goal. It doesn't have to be just that you're hoping and praying that it works out.
Fantastic. And where can they find your book? And what are the other books?
Yeah, so the my website is easiest, drrobinbuckley.com. You can also find me under that moniker on every other social media platform. And for your audience, Renee, if they go to my website and they can buy it on Amazon, but if they go to my website and buy it, they can use the code marriage20 and get 20% off of the book or the workbook. And then in March is going to be my first podcast. So that will be coming out sometime in March. And there's probably 2 after that, but definitely the first.
Oh, fantastic. And do you want to give them a little hint as far as what the podcast is going to be?
So the second podcast is going to be related to the book. And that's just going to be Marriage Incorporated. But the one in March is called That's What She Said. And it's about Gen X or older women giving wisdom and advice to Gen Z women. So it's about the women who have lived it to the women who are building it.
I love that. It's imparting our knowledge, our experience, our wisdom, because we always say, like, gosh, if I knew then what I know now, right? But so many of those conversations are not had, or the younger generation may not have somebody older that they can listen to and trust. And, like we say, whether it's in work, it's in, personal lives, when you hear it, I often talk about, team members and clients. And there's been experiences where they've come to me and said, oh my gosh, I just heard blah, 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 blah from this person. Yeah. And I sit there go like, what the fuck? I've been telling you this for the last 3 freaking years. So they need to hear it from multiple people in order for it to click sometimes.
My husband has a great phrase. He does similar work, but with athletes. And his phrase is the right words from the right person at the right time. Because they could hear it from you over and over, but if they are not in the space, if they're not hearing it in exactly the way, it won't work. So I love the idea of this podcast being almost like that ancestral fire where the women are sitting around just sharing stories and sharing things that the listeners can take or leave, but it's there for you if you want to try and avoid some of the things that we wish we could have avoided.
Oh my God, I think that's going to be great. And again, what is the code for them to grab your book at 20 off?
It's Marriage 20.
Marriage 20. Perfect. Dr. Robin Buckley, thank you very, very much for joining our show. This was very enlightening. Listeners, please go follow her, go to her website, grab that book. It is going to help your relationship no matter where you are in your relationship. I think this is brilliant. Be sure to go follow her as well. And stay tuned for more Unapologetically Badass. Please share this episode with other women you know, because this truly can help lower the divorce rate. I mean, let's face it, right? So I am getting this book actually and gifting it also. I'm going to get another one and gift it to my daughter who just recently got married. I think that's a great gift to help, again, teaching the younger generation things that, may have, if I learned this years ago, maybe I wouldn't be divorced, but didn't have this back then. So everyone go follow Robin Buckley and go grab that book and gift it to your younger daughter as well. I think that would be a great gift. So thank you again and stay tuned for the next one. Have a good day, all. For today, Queen, but don't just walk away inspired, walk away activated. If this episode lit a fire under your fabulous ass, hit that follow button, leave a review, and share it with your fiercest ride or die. Your support helps this podcast reach even more women who are ready to reclaim their power. And hey, if you're ready to look, feel, and earn like $1 million freaking bucks, I've got an entire badass empire waiting for you. From confidence boosting merch to brand strategy, coaching, collagen, content, and everything in between, head on over to reneecarbonefleming.com or tap the link in the show notes. Pick your flavor of badass and let's turn midlife into your power era. Stay bold, stay unapologetic, and wear the damn crown.